We'll be moving on to lesson 1-4A, which is adding integers. We're going to put some ideas together that we've used in prior lessons in terms of what integers are, and dealing with things like positives and negatives. In our first example here, we are going to be adding 8 to -4. Now, you might remember this from last year. I said, look what you got here, folks. You've got 8 positive signs, and you're going to add 4 negatives. Now the thing is, a positive sign and a negative sign kind of cancel each other out. So if you'll notice, what you've got left are 4 positive signs left. So our answer is going to be 4. If we look at example B, you can do the positive and negatives. You can also look at a number line. We're going to start at -3. Adding 5. 5 is a positive integer, so it means we move to our right. We're going to move to our right 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we end up at 2. So those are 2 different ways to visually think about how to add a positive integer to a negative integer. Now if you'll notice, here we used a positive sign and a negative sign. We call those different signs. What you need to do, and this is our rule, it's kind of long, so you might have to pause and catch up and then do the writing. Find the absolute value of each integer. And here's the part that gets tricky. Subtract the lesser, meaning the smaller, absolute value from the greater absolute value, or the larger one. Okay, stop and look what that means. Take the absolute value of each integer, subtract the smaller one from the greater one, and then here's the final part that's very important. The answer has the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. Another way to think of this, and if we go back to example B, remember we've got 3 negatives. We have 5 positives. Positives and the negative cancel. We have 2 positives left. If we think of it in terms of absolute value, the number with the greater absolute value here is positive. So we really do have more positive charges than negative charges. So our answer is going to be positive. But it gets a little confusing because we're adding, but then they throw this subtract in. So this is an important thing to learn. Now I did not do any addition of positive integers because, quite frankly, you've been doing that since first grade. When Miss Huizinga, or whoever your first grade teacher was, said 1 plus 2, that was positive integers. They just didn't tell you that at the time. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 6 is going to be 8. So I didn't do any examples of that because I'm presuming that you kind of remember how to add from first, second grade. Now, but what happens if we have two negatives? All right, here's the deal. You're going to start at -6. Now the thing is, or -5 rather, excuse me, we're going to move 6 places to the left. Negative is a left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, what would be here? -11. Another way to think of it is you've got 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 more negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What do you have? All I have is negatives, so therefore it's -11. So with D, -2 plus -3, can you figure it out? Sure, it's -5. So how do we handle that for a rule? The sum of two positive integers is positive. Yep, 3 plus 2 is 5. First grade math, right? Now, here's the different one, though, because we're working with integers. The sum of two negative integers is going to be negative. Okay, and we just did 2 examples like that in C or D. We can use these in algebraic expressions. You kind of get the picture here, because every time we teach something, it seems like we then go on and use it in an algebraic expression. Again, you're going to substitute that -4. So in A, we are going to substitute -4 for the n, add the 9. Now we go back to our rule. It says we've got different signs. So I really have an absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of 9 is 9. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 has the greater absolute value. Let's move on to B. -4 plus -3. Now I'm to my second rule of like signs. I have 4 negatives. I add 3 more negatives. I'm going to end up with a -7. Oh, but now look at C. Be careful. C puts us back into what we just learned in lesson 1.3. We've got to take the opposite of. We need to take the opposite of -4 and then add 7. Well, the opposite of -4 is 4 plus 7. So our answer is going to be 11. D is kind of similar to C. We're going to take the opposite of -4, but this time we're going to add -5. The opposite of -4 is 4 plus the -5. Now, we're back to that different signs rule. 5 minus 4 is 1. But the -5 is the greater absolute value, so it's -1. Or you can think about it as, okay, I have my 4 positives, 5 negatives. These are canceled. I've got -1 left. There's a couple of different ways to go through solving them. You kind of have to use whatever is going to work best for you.